Hey guys, welcome back to the Elevate Church online experience. We love having you here every week. And if this is your first time, a special welcome to you. If you'd like to stay engaged with us, don't forget to like and subscribe. You can find the links down below. Our worship partner this week is Jonathan Traylor.
I do not know what tomorrow will bring, but I know you are with me. And I do not know what the future will hold, but you never forsake me. In all my days, you never left my side. Cloud by day, fire by night. I'll follow you all of my life. I'll follow you all of my life. Yeah. I could not win this battle on my own. I'm so glad you are for me. I've been in the fire, but you brought me out. No, you never forsake me. And all my days, you never left my side. Cloud by day, fire by night. I'll follow you all of my life. I'll follow you all of my life. Every step I take, you've already been there. And every move I make, you've seen it before. So I won't turn back now, for you are with me. You have led me here, so I will trust in the Lord. Every step I take, you've already been there. And every move I make, you've seen it before. So I won't turn back now, for you are with me. You have led me here, so I will trust in the Lord. All my days, you never left my side. Cloud by day, fire by night. I'll follow you all of my life. I'll follow you all of my life. I'll follow you all of my life. There is a table filled with the best food. Can you hear the Father calling? There's a seat just for you. And at this table, all is forgiven. Trading your chains of bondage for crowns of freedom. All are welcome at the table. There is a place just for you. No condemnation at the table. There is a place just for you, just for you. This is the table of new beginnings. These cups are full of love, and it's never ending. And at this table, there are no orphans, just a loving Father and His sons and daughters. All are welcome at the table. There is a place just for you. No condemnation at the table. There is a place just for you. All are welcome at the table. There is a place just for you. No condemnation at the table. There is a place just for you, just for you. Yeah. There's a seat for you. Leave your shame at the door. You won't need it anymore. And hold your head up high. This is the start of your new life. Leave your chains at the door. They can't hold you anymore. And hold your head up high. This is the start of your new life. All are welcome at the table. There is a place just for you. No condemnation at the table. There is a place just for you, just for you.
This is our third week of our series. You'll be glad you did. If you haven't watched the two previously, I'd suggest you go back and watch them.
What about financial advice? Are you good with money? That seems like a no. What financial advice would you give me? What have you guys learned?
Start building your credit early.
Do you guys think credit cards are good?
If you have like a $13,000 limit, make sure you stay under 20% of that limit at all times, because that'll go on your credit score.
So I need to get a high limit so I can spend a lot on it.
Well, just within your limit.
Who decides the limit?
The government, I'm sure.
I'll call them.
Yeah.
Is there anything you need advice about?
How do you pay off my student loans?
How do I pay off your student loans? Very reluctantly. What was your degree?
My degree is chemical engineering.
So you're a chemical engineer.
Yes.
I think you'll be able to pay off your loans. Just engineer more chemicals.
Diversify. You have all kinds. You go into all those different Fidelity. What's the one that everyone has?
Bitcoin.
No.
Seems like half the people are saying invest in cryptocurrency and the other half are saying buy gold.
Now, I would say that's a better bet.
Buy gold?
Yes, it's tangible.
Isn't that just for like old people that do that?
No.
But what is your actual financial advice? You said you know how to budget.
I know how to budget and things, I just don't. Rents, car insurance.
We did premarital counseling, and we learned that to her, money represents fun, and to me, money represents safety.
Yeah, that's me and my
So I bought a flamethrower to protect us with. That's also very fun. Trying to figure out combining our finances and stuff,
Keep a separate account. Don't put it all into one.
just in case.
And I'm not married, so I'm saying that, and it may turn out to be totally different.
Her money is her money. Your money is her money.
You don't have
You don't have any money.
So that's how it works.
And maybe she doesn't need to know about it, because if she knows about it, that may not go over too well.
Where do I get money?
You just ask her.
You have to ask her. That's right.
But if she ever finds out about it, I'll be like, well, I didn't lie to you because you never asked.
That is true.
I just didn't tell you.
That's true. I like the way you think.
I like the way, yeah, we got this figured out, I think.
Well, hey there, Elevate friends and family. Great to have you with us today. Now, right at the beginning, I want us to use our imaginations for a moment. And I just need to warn you that this might hurt a little. I want you to imagine that tomorrow morning, you wake up and you check your emails, and there's an email from your bank saying that they've opened an account for you. And it's not a scam, okay? This is legit. And the money that's in that account is the combined total of all of the money you've wasted so far in your life. And when I say money you've wasted, I'm talking about the money you've bad habited away, the money you've consumer debted away, the whatever happened to that thing I bought away, the I only wore it once away, and that's now all come back into your world, into an account, and the bank's advised you of that. And look, I'm aware for some of you that might not be a significant amount of money, and for others you're like, boy, there's a whole lot in that account. The only wrinkle is that you can't spend that money. You can only give it away. You can either give it away immediately or you can give it away over time, but you have to give it away. And I actually think that would be incredibly fun. Okay, I want you to hold that thought. I'm going to come back to that in a moment. Now, this is a series we've launched right at the beginning of 2024 called You'll Be Glad You Did. Timeless advice for troubled times. And that's a key word there, advice. This is not rules. This is not laws. In fact, essentially, this is like unoriginal, well-trodden, proven advice that really hangs around in the space of wisdom. So, week 1, I taught a message called Connecting the Dots. And really, that just highlighted the importance of, as we mature, of understanding that the decisions we make today will have an impact on our tomorrow, that wise decisions today will set us up for a better tomorrow, and that unwise decisions today will set us up for a worse tomorrow. Last week, Steve Hall taught a message called Just Listen. And man, this is so important because, as you are very aware, we live in a culture right now where a lot of people think that they have to share their opinion on everything, and communication has become very much one-way traffic. But if you learn to listen and develop that, it actually becomes a superpower that will develop your life and actually also have a positive impact on the people around you. So today's week 3, and I want to talk today about what it means to live generous. Now, that word live is very intentional. I'm not actually going to teach about what it means to be generous. See, most of us know how to be generous, like in the moment. You know, someone knocks on your door, collecting for a worthy cause, and you'll think, yeah, okay, $5, $10, $20. That's being generous. Sure, maybe someone in your sphere is short of a few bucks and you think, oh, I can help you out, and you might give them some money or buy them some groceries, and that's about being generous. These sorts of actions are really great, but they fall into the category of what I would call random acts of giving. And random acts of giving isn't the same as living generous. See, living generous is really where the life change happens, both for you as someone who's committing to living generous and also for the people on the other side of your ongoing generosity. So I'm going to unpack what it means to live generous. Before I do, let me just bust some myths around this concept of generosity. You might have some of these myths floating around. Maybe some of them you didn't buy into in the first place, but let me just give a quick flyover and clear the air, and then we'll get into what it means to live generous. Here's a myth about generosity, that generosity is spontaneous. It's often emotion-based, and there's a cause or a need or something here, and we respond. And again, that's a good thing. This is, again, this category of random acts of giving. But what I've noticed is that even greedy and selfish people sometimes find themselves giving spontaneously, yet you wouldn't describe them as generous people or people who are living generously. Here's another one. This one may be a little bit more obvious, that generosity is regulated by cash flow. This is that whole idea that, when someone makes the ask, again, it might be knocking on your door, it might be they've got a booth at the local shopping mall, and it's a worthy cause, and they're asking you for some money, and you default to, oh, what's in my wallet, what's in my purse, what's in my bank account. And if your cash flow's tight, then you're almost certainly forced to have to say to them, I'm sorry, I can't help right now. And for you, what you had in that moment determined what you could or couldn't give in that moment. But people who live generously actually avoid that very predicament. And I'm going to come back to that. And here's another one. It's the amount that counts. Big amounts must indicate you're very generous, and small amounts must indicate you're a bit stingy. But it's important when we think about generosity to appreciate that context matters. So if you hear about somebody that gave $1,000 to whatever or where, gave $1,000, was that a lot? Or was that not much? I mean, is that person do they normally spend $1,000 Saturday night going out to dinner with friends? Indicating that $1,000 isn't a lot of money for them. See, we only know what's a lot and a little to us. We don't know what's a lot or a little to others. And so we might see some big numbers thrown around. Some A-list celebrity gave this amount of money to something. Some high-profile business person gave this amount of money to something. And the risk is that those big numbers might make us think, well, I couldn't give that, or I can't give that. So probably my giving's not going to make any difference. So why bother giving anything at all? And interestingly, Jesus addressed this very thing. So back in Jesus' time, there was the Jewish temple, and right at the front of the Jewish temple was what was called the temple treasury. The temple treasury was a place where, as you walked into, approach, and enter the temple, you would give a gift, financial gift. And Jesus actually, on this particular occasion, pulled his closest disciples aside and had them hang out next to the temple treasury to watch people giving. I've always thought this as a profoundly awkward thing, but anyway, he did that. And people would give and go to the temple. The next people give, go into the temple. The next people give, go into the temple. And then we discover this happened. As Jesus looked up, he saw the rich putting their gifts into the temple treasury. You know, he would have known what a rich person looked like, the clothes they wear, the people they hung around. So that was happening. And then he also saw a poor widow, and we don't know how he knew she was a poor widow. Again, could have been clothing, could have been who she was hanging around. He might have even known her story. We don't know, but she put in 2 very small copper coins, like next to nothing in the bigger scheme of things. And then Jesus said to his disciples, truly I tell you, he said, this poor widow has put in more than all the others. The implication, more than all the others combined, all the rich people combined. And you think, and they might have been thinking, Jesus, I don't, what? That's not very good math. And Jesus might have said to them, no, guys, this is kingdom math, not girl math, kingdom of God math. Jesus is highlighting that God's not first and foremost moved by amount, because for the rich people, what they gave might not have really been a big deal to them. God's moved by percentages, because he said this next, all these people, this is the rich people, gave their gifts out of their wealth. But the widow, out of her poverty, put in all she had to live on. That day, not because of the amount, but because of the percentage, the widow was the most generous person to enter the temple that day. Okay, speaking about rich people, there's a myth that rich people are generous. Well, I'm not going to dunk on rich people, and the answer is maybe. Are rich people generous? Maybe, but the distinction isn't rich or poor. The distinction is rich people are rich. Generous people are generous. And I know some rich people who are generous, and I know some rich people who are stingy. And I know some poor people or less well-off people who are generous, and I know some less well-off people who are stingy. This idea of how much money you have isn't an automatic correlation as to whether or not someone is generous. So what does it look like to live generously? And I'm aware that for some of you, this idea of living generously is maybe easier than others, but potentially because of your upbringing. You know, I know some parents who, from the day that Junior started to get their pocket money or their allowance, the parents taught Junior that you give the first. So if your allowance was $10, you would give $1, typically to the church, and then you could hang on to the 9. And they were raised that way, and I know many people who into adulthood have continued on this pattern. It's just normal. They've never known it any other way. But full disclosure, I wasn't raised this way. And I'm not saying my parents weren't generous, but we didn't talk about living generously. We didn't talk about giving. We didn't talk about putting God first with your income. And the church I grew up in didn't teach about that either. And so I was very late to the party. It wasn't until I was in my early to mid 20s that I connected into a church that started teaching about what it means to live generously. And thankfully, I got the memo. Thankfully, I made the switch. I made the adjustment. And from that day forward, I've never looked back. And in fact, the only regret I have, and I don't really have much control over this, is I just wish I'd learned it sooner so that I could make that shift and that adjustment in my life sooner to live generously. So listen, friends, I'm not teaching you or asking you to do anything that I'm not already doing. I'm in. And I'm telling you, if you, like me, need to make that adjustment to start to live generously, then do it. Like, absolutely do it. And I guarantee this, you'll be glad you did. All right. So let me give you a definition of generous living. It's not like you can go to a dictionary. There'll be a bunch of definitions. I'm just going to run with this one. Generous living is the premeditated, calculated, and designated releasing of financial resources. I'm going to say it again, a lot of big words there. Generous living is the premeditated, calculated, and designated releasing of financial resources. Let me break down those three words, starting with premeditated. And this is what I've learned. In order to live generous, you have to have a plan. Without a plan, you might find yourself doing random acts of giving sporadically and sparingly and occasionally, but you won't learn and develop the habit of living generously. And as a result, you'll never maximize your giving potential. You have to have a plan. Now, there's a financial author guru named Ron Blue. He's written a bunch of books on finances and investing and inheritances and all the good stuff. His first book was this book here called Master Your Money. And in this book, he outlines that essentially there's only really 5 things we can do with money, 5 things we can do with the money that comes into our world. We can spend, this, by the way. We can spend it. We can repay debt, which is the result of having spent it more than you earned. Pay taxes. We don't have a choice about this one, but the point is that's where some of our money goes. We can save it, and we can give it. Spend it, repay debt, pay taxes, save it, give it. What's important to understand when we see this list is that most of them revolve around us. Spend it, that's me first. Repay debt, well, that's the result of me putting me first. Pay taxes, okay, that's not a choice. Save it, me fourth. And then finally, give it. And that's how a lot of people handle their finances, that others, when it comes to this area of giving, others are last, if they make the list at all. And so I want to press you a little, if you're a follower of Jesus, with this challenge and just really double click on this idea that if you're a follower of Jesus and your priority is something like this list where others are last, if they make the list at all, when it comes to giving, you can't live like this. Jesus calls us to an elevated, better standard of living. And it's not just a financial principle. If others are last in any area of our lives, then we are not living the way Jesus calls us to live. Jesus calls us to put other people first. And he himself modeled this by putting you first and me first when he was on earth. And then he spent a lot of time talking about money, teaching about money, teaching about kingdom math, teaching about kingdom priorities, because he wants us to actually prioritize others in every practical area of our everyday lives, including, and oftentimes the one that's kind of the most measurable, prioritizing others in our practical everyday financial lives, demonstrated by giving. We're called to be others first people. So, premeditated, have to have a plan. Calculated. See, let me pull the curtain back and show you how generous people think. Generous people pre-decide to be generous. They don't have to be asked. They pre-decide that they're going to give, and they pre-decide an amount or a percentage that they're going to give. So when that money comes in, that wage, that income, whatever it is, they've already decided that they're going to give an amount or a percentage away. They don't make that decision every single time they get paid. They've made that decision once, and then that money just comes in and they give first. It's calculated. This is a keystone piece of having a plan. It's I'm going to have a plan to give. I've pre-decided that I'm going to give. I'm going to actually seek first the kingdom of God by demonstrating that I'm seeking first the kingdom of God by giving first. And I'll say this, as someone who made the adjustment and is now committed to, as best as I can, living generously. And that's this very important truth. If and when you commit to living generously, to having a plan, to be premeditated and calculated, it will actually start to positively affect your entire financial world. Okay, and then thirdly, designated. Generous people have a plan, they pre-decide they're going to give the amount that they're going to give or the percentage they're going to give, and they also pre-decide where they're going to give. Now, I lead a local church, and my wife and I, our first giving goes into our local church. So, again, I'm not teaching anything that we're not doing and living ourselves. But that doesn't have to be limited to that. We give to other things in addition to our local church. But the point is, generous people are proactive. They don't wait to be asked. They don't need to be asked. They don't even need to be thanked. Their commitment is to live generously and release their giving. Now, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you don't do the random acts of giving, but I would call them add-on giving. What we're talking about is this ongoing, consistent commitment to the pattern and execution of living generously. And we've been teaching this for years here at Elevate. In fact, we've boiled it down to our best understanding of the biblical pattern when it comes to financial management, not just giving, the whole kind of gamut of financial management, that the biblical pattern is in this order: give, save, live, in that order. And that there's this truth that as we commit to give first, we start to experience more joy. As we commit to save second, we start to experience more peace. And as we commit to then live only within our means, we start to experience more freedom. And these are the things God wants for us: more joy, more peace, more freedom, and ultimately also more impact, kingdom impact. So, right at the top, we did this thought experiment about this hypothetical situation where tomorrow your bank informs you that there's an account with all of the money that you've wasted to date. Can you imagine if you committed to give, save, live? And by the way, maybe some of you have, and if so, well done. But I'm talking like from the get-go. Either from when you started getting your allowance, or let's say maybe when you started getting paid in your first job. If you were doing this then, from the absolute outset, imagine how much money you would have given away. That's the amount that's in this hypothetical bank account now. And imagine how much joy you would have experienced. And imagine how much impact you would have been able to make. So for some of you, this is going to require an adjustment. And I'm aware that that notion of stepping towards living generously might scare some of you. But I would, having made the adjustment myself, maybe the thing that should scare you more is living another day, another season, without living generous, because first of all, of the positive impact you'll have on the world, and secondly, generous people are the happiest people on the planet. And Jesus knew that. He said it this way, it's more blessed to give, blessed, happy, joy-filled, than to receive. Now, this message is really an appetizer for a series we're going to be launching in February called More Than Enough. And I want to encourage you to be here in February and between now and then. We're also going to start to talk about a once-in-a-generation opportunity that we're going to be rolling out here at Elevate Church. So I'm excited for those of you that from this day forward are going to take that step and commit more than ever, or maybe for the first time, to live generous. You'll be glad you did.
If you've been able to give before, we thank you so much. And if you'd like to today, you can find the links below. Thanks so much for tuning in today, guys. We hope to see you next week.